Kier Starmer and his Labour Party made several promising commitments before the election. However, since taking office, their actions have been seen as hypocritical. During a debate in Westminster Hall, Conservative MP Blake Stevenson revealed a lie from Starmer and called for justice for British pensioners. Unfortunately, no Labour MPs were there to engage in the discussion or defend their government.
Watch how the scene unfolded.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairship. And I beg to move that this House has considered government support for pensioners. I do so not just because pensioners represent an enormous portion of our population, over 10 million, but because the way we support pensioners impacts every single person in this country. From the start to the end of our careers, we should all aspire to a comfortable retirement for ourselves and for our loved ones. I know that this government understands that, because before the election they made big pitches to pensioners. The Work and Pensions Secretary said that Labour were, and I quote, determined to once again be the pensioners' party. The Prime Minister said that his Labour Party would, and again I quote, always be on the side of pensioners. If you recall, Labour's manifesto featured the heartbreaking story of Gary, a pensioner who was struggling to heat his house on his pension. I feel immensely for people like Gary, people who have struggled when times were really tough, people who voted with hope for a government that they believed would reduce their energy bills and look after vulnerable pensioners. I will gladly give way.
Can I congratulate my honourable friend on the excellent speech he's making? I heard from a pensioner in West Worcestershire only today who, on an income of £13,500, was stripped of his winter fuel allowance last year and is having to live in one room which he can afford to heat. Is he as shocked as I am to hear that example?
I thank my honourable friend for the intervention. I am absolutely shocked, and I'm going to come on to talk about, to mention a few stories of my own from constituents in my constituency, and they're very similar. And I think we're hearing these stories up and down the country, and I am absolutely shocked. I agree. I will gladly give way.
You're speaking very, very well about the challenges that older people are facing, but is it worthy just for the House to note that there's no Labour backbench MPs here to contribute to this debate? We have the Minister and the PPS, the payroll are here, so despite all the rhetoric during the general election campaign about supporting pensioners, they don't seem to be willing to be here to stand up for them in this debate.
I thank my honourable friend for that intervention, and I had noted the same, and I was going to wait until the end of the debate, see if any snuck in on the off chance to make some...
Sending a whip's message out.
You never know, perhaps the whips are calling them now. So perhaps we'll come back to this at the end of the debate and see if any have turned up to defend the current government's record. The simple reality is that hope for more support was misplaced. What has happened instead? Energy bills are up, and support for vulnerable pensioners has been cut. The Prime Minister said in April that Britain's pensioners deserve politicians who will be straight with them, and I agree. And here is the truth. Whatever the failings the previous government had, whatever difficulties it had grappling with the impacts of COVID, the invasion of Ukraine, and indeed its own missteps at times, they always tried to support pensioners. As recently as March last year, the Pensions Minister actually admitted on social media that pensioners are an average of £1,000 better off as a result of policies since 2010. Perhaps the Minister may want to reflect on that in the summing up. Last winter, Gary might well have received £600 from his winter fuel payment and his pensioner cost of living payment. This winter, he might well have received nothing. Like an estimated 9.2 million pensioners losing their winter fuel payment this winter, Gary may have found himself without that vital support he received last winter to make that choice between heating and eating a little less difficult.
Will the honourable gentleman...
I'll gladly give way.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm really grateful to my honourable friend for giving way, and he's making some really important points here, particularly around and using some examples of pensioners who find themselves trapped in this situation. Does he think at the crux of this is it's about unfairness, but also it's the speed with which this policy decision, this political choice was made? Because even as recently as the 27th of April 2024, Sir Kier Starmer, the Prime Minister, was saying Britain's pensioners deserve better. They deserve certainty, and for politicians to be straight with them so they can live their lives. This is not an example of fairness, it's not an example of certainty, and it's certainly not an example of being straight with pensioners.
Now over to you viewers. Do you think Kier Starmer and his Labour government is unfair to govern the United Kingdom? Drop your thoughts in the comment section and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.